Hello, this is Nora Ryan from Dreambuild Software, and in this video, I'm going to talk about flex fields and the types of flex fields you might want for your client entities in PST. These fields do not trade, and they are not visible to your client or anybody outside of your office that you have given a PST login to. To create flex fields for clients, go up to the upper right-hand corner, click on the down arrow, and click on Settings. There are a lot of settings in PST, and now there's a new one called Flex Fields. If you click on Flex Fields, you'll see there are three different areas where you can create flex fields for jobs, for cases, and for entities. Entities are clients, servers, and attorneys. If I click on that row, this will expand out. And what you will see when you start will be mostly blank. I have created some flex fields, so that's why you see all of this. What you will see is an Add tab button, a Delete tab button, and an Add field button, and the name of the default tab that is brought up. Let's talk about tabs for a second. Tabs are not required. They are put in there for you to organize flex fields. If you only have two or three of them, probably don't need to use multiple tabs. But the flexibility is there if you would like to organize. And this is a good example because entities, the flex fields you want to use for servers may not be the flex fields you want to use for clients. So I have created three flex field or four tabs. One's called client info, one that's called server info, one that's called attorney info, and then I have a demo tab in here just for illustrative purposes. If I want to add another tab, I can call it whatever I want, all entities, and I hit accept. You'll see that that tab is now there, but it's blank because I haven't added any fields to it. I don't really want this tab, so I'm going to delete it. When I click on delete tab, you're going to get a warning that points out to you that when you delete this tab, any flex fields that are on this tab will also be deleted, and you will not be able to see them anymore, even for jobs where you have entered information into those flex fields. So think hard before you delete a tab. In this case, it's empty, so I'm just going to delete it. I can rename a tab if I want, just by typing, and you'll see that the tab name changes up here as I type. And now I can add fields. I've already added some, but if I want to add another field on each tab, if you look down, you see there is an add field button. When I click on that, I'm asked two things. What do I want to call this? And what type of flex field will it be? You have multiple choices for flex fields. You can do a single line text field, good for reference numbers, any kind of alphanumeric string that takes only one line. There's a multi-line text box where you can put in returns and you might have multiple lines worth of information that you want to enter. You can have a date field, a money field, a number field which must be an integer. There's no decimals allowed, and then a drop-down field. A drop-down field is where you define the choices that your PST users will have to select from. They can't just type in a blank field. That would be a single line text field. Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples that we've already put together for clients. These are just things that we thought of. Take these as inspiration. You might have completely different ideas. The first one I have is something called prepayment required. Do you require this client pay you before you start the job? And I've made this a drop-down list where the choices are yes or no. I can add another label maybe only over 10 jobs. So maybe if they put in a big order, at that point, you want to have some prepayment. Excuse me. Whenever you create a drop-down selection, you have two things to choose from or two things to type in. The first is called the label. This is what the PST user will see in the drop-down list. The second is the value. This is if you export the data, maybe you want to have a shorter um, uh, phrase in there. I think most of the time you're not going to care and you're going to want them to be the same thing. So we have a checkbox here that is by default on that says the value is the same as the label. So you see, as I change the label, the value changes. Okay. If I want it to be set different, I can unclick this and I can say 10 jobs. I can make it something shorter. Like I said, I think you're going to want to mostly keep it the same, so I just leave it like that. You hit accept. Now you can see that this item is in here. Let's say I don't like this order though, because this order that you see on the screen when you set it up is the order that the PST users will see in the drop-down list. So maybe you want this to be on the top. See how this turns into a little hand when I get over these little dots? This is how you move this. So I can move this and make that the top one. So you organize these the way you want. You might want to do it alphabetical, or you might want to do it based on what are the most frequent answers. You can choose a default if you want. So you could make the default be yes, so that if you create a new client, the default is yes, prepayment is required. You want to think about those to make sure that you're not creating more work for your users, but that is something for you to discuss with your internal business process. If I do not want one of these, so maybe I don't want this only over 10 jobs, I just put in, I can simply hit the trash can and it will remove that drop-down selection. Now let's say I don't want this field at all, this prepayment. I can delete it by hitting the little red trash can for the field. However, you're going to get this same warning that you get when you try to delete a tab. This is basically warning you, if you delete this prepayment required field, you won't be able to see any of the data that you might have entered in this field for jobs that you've already created or clients you've already created. So think long and hard. In this case, I'm going to say, oh, no, I'd like to keep that, right? You'll notice there are little dots up here too. Little dots mean you can move things. So I can drag this around. I can put this where I want it. Just put it back so we keep things in order here. Some other examples for clients. Marketing source. How did this client find you? Maybe you want to put the FAPS website, or they were referred by someone, or they found you on Google Maps or through a Google search, or direct inquiry to your website. This is an example where you can see we've got a longer name in here than we would export. So this says Google Maps or Google search, and under value for export, we just put Google. Just shows you an example of when you might want to have the value and the label be different. The next one we put is the sales rep. Maybe you have people that you have out trying to find clients and they get a commission or something. So you can list a sales rep and you can either list them or you could have made this a single line text field, but this way, make sure everybody spells everything right. And then you might have a sales rep commission percentage. And now you see here, I've put the default as 5%. This is a 5. My case, it means 5%. If you don't want to have that default, you can just get rid of it. Any changes you make, you want to hit accept so that they're saved. Now, let's say, well, I want to have this sales information, but I actually want to have it in a different tab. And maybe this is calling this demo tab. I'll call this sales reps tab. Okay. But I've already created these things over here. I don't want to recreate them. Guess what? I can move these by clicking on the little folder with the arrow, and this allows me to move this to wherever I want to another tab. So I'm going to move that, and you'll see now this is in the sales rep tab. And you know what? I'm going to move the sales rep commission there too. Okay. So these are some examples of how you can set up client flex fields. I'm going to hit accept. Now let's look at some actual clients. So I'm going to go to contacts, clients. I'm just going to search clients. And let me just bring up, for example, this one, steel law. Hit the pencil. You notice we have all these tabs about the client information, and now there's one called flex fields. When you get here, you're going to see the same tabs that we set up for entities. This is why I had things set up as client, server, attorney, and I would keep the sales rep on the client information. But for the purposes of this example, you can see client information, prepayment required. I can choose and say, yes, actually it is. And the marketing source, oh, they found us from a direct inquiry to our website. Sales reps, it was me. And my commission is 3% or 3. If I hit accept, that is now saved to the client. So if I go back in, was it these guys? Yeah, hopefully. You can see those changes have been saved. Now, let's say you want to look at all of your clients and maybe do an export of information for a sales rep or anything like that. How do you see the flex fields in this list of clients? You're just going to go to the column chooser, right? And you can do this for any view, right? We have, you can create your own views or you can modify one that we've already created. Anything that starts with PST is a view that we've created. If you don't know how to use views, give us a call or send an email and we can send you a video on how to use views. But for this example, we're just going to stay with this PST client view. I'm going to go to the column chooser. On the left-hand side are the available columns that you're not displaying right now. On the right-hand side is the columns you're displaying. Any flex field that you create is going to have an F dash in front of it. It's so you know that this is not a PST-wide field. This is one that you've defined. And so that they're easy to find because they'll all be under F dash in alphabetical order. So let's say for clients, I want to add marketing source and are they a NAPS member and is prepayment required? You could add all of them, but let's do that. Now, they all went to the bottom. I can drag them up to the top. So right after full name and firm name, this will show up now. So if I say apply, here you see prepayment required, and the other flex fields are over here. Now you can drag, just as a reminder, you can drag columns around in these views. So it's easy to reorganize these. You can also filter. So I can say, show me only the clients that require prepayment. And if you just want to export, and you can also sort based on any of these values. So now I click to sort on marketing source. If you want to export this information, super easy. You go to the export function, click on it, and you can choose to export all data from this search result to an Excel file that you can use to For example, look at all the sales reps and see who's, doing the best with getting new clients, things like that. Anyway, this concludes the video on flex fields for clients. If you have any questions about this, I encourage you to call or email, and we can discuss flex fields with you. And based on ideas you might have for flex fields, we can give you advice on how best to set those up. All right. Thank you very much.